My name is Agnieszka Szemiel. I'm a molecular virologist, and I'm currently the interim facility manager of the COVID-19 Drug Screening and Resistance Hub, CRUSH in short. COVID-19 Drug Screening and Resistance Hub, CRUSH in short, is a new facility here at the MRC-University of Glasgow Centre for Virus Research. CRUSH offers a service of testing and screening potential compounds against SARS coronavirus 2, which causes COVID-19. We can also test products for their ability to inactivate the virus. At the moment, we are primarily focusing on SARS-CoV-2, but in the future, we plan to expand and work on other viruses. Being part of one of the top virology institutes, we are in a unique position where we can draw on the knowledge and experience of amazing virologists and apply it to projects that help the biotech industry and the result, all of us. We have tools which allow us to screen compounds for their potential to inhibit SARS-CoV-2. We use the most recent discoveries in virology to be able to perform such testing on as many samples as possible and as quickly as possible. One of these fancy new methods that we are using is called reverse genetic system, which allows us to generate SARS-CoV-2 viruses based on the genomic sequence. So, for example, if a new variant of the virus emerges somewhere in the world, and if the sequence data is available, we can actually make that virus in the lab. It's not easy, but possible. So what we need is the sequence of the virus, the genetic material. So we can't make it ourselves, but we can ask a company to do that for us. And once we have the genetic material of the virus in the lab, then we can take that into the high containment lab, level 3. We put it into the cells, which then will produce the virus. And once we have the virus, we can test all available drugs if they work against that particular variant. We can also test serum from patients or vaccinated people to see if the antibodies in their blood can neutralize the virus. So with new discoveries being made every day, we can always see how we can adapt them to our work. Well, first of all, you need to have the knowledge relevant to the field. So here it's virology. So knowing as much as possible about the virus that you work with is very useful. You also need to have the technical knowledge and experience, which is essential in designing new assays and then troubleshooting if something goes wrong. So I need to know how to work with cell lines. I need to know how to grow up the virus, how to measure and calculate how much of the virus I have, and then calculate how much virus do I need to do an experiment. And then we need to know what will be the best way to measure our output. So figure out how do we measure the results, how do we present the results. And then on top of that, we do all the work in high containment laboratory, level 3. So we need to know how to work safely in such an environment. It is very important that no one gets infected in the lab and that the virus doesn't get out of the lab. This is why it's very important to be able to abide by the rules, and being able to follow strict procedures is essential. Without that, you can't work in such lab. Other skills that are very useful are organization and being able to plan your work, because if you forget to bring something with you into the CL3, in order to go out and get it, you need to remove your PPE, which is personal protective equipment. Then you go out, you get what you forgot, and then you come back. So you need to put your PPE back on, and then you can go back to work. So this can take anywhere around an hour, well, half an hour if you're lucky. Analytical and problem skills are also useful. So you need to be able to analyze results you get from the experiments. And if something doesn't work, you need to be able to troubleshoot. So on top of that, we need to be flexible and we need to be able to adapt to new circumstances. So if something doesn't work as expected, you just stop, assess the situation, make a new plan, and move on. I don't want to finish on a sad note, but patience, resilience, and being able to deal with adversity is important. Sometimes you can work on a project for months and nothing is working. And this can sometimes be depressing to the extent that you start doubting your skills. But in the end, when you get your eureka moment and you manage to succeed, it's worth it. The favorite thing about my job is that I can apply my knowledge and experience to something that can be of immediate benefit to science and society. Before CRUSH, I was concentrating on basic research in virology. I worked on projects that were describing how morbilliviruses and bunyaviruses work and how we can study them. It is important work, but this work didn't have immediate applicability to solving practical problems. So now I'm using the basic knowledge about SARS-CoV-2 to find new medication. And also I get to be involved in multiple projects and I meet lots of new people from industry and academia. Well, I meet people via online conferencing tools, not in person, unfortunately. But hopefully this will change at some point. And I get to learn lots of new skills. So I do really like my job. Well, it depends on what type of virology you want to do. Wet lab or computational. So if you want to be a wet lab-based virologist like me, then at school I would study subjects like biology, chemistry, mathematics is very useful, and physics. Well, I wasn't very good at physics at school, but I wish I was. It would have made my life so much easier at certain stages. And then when you go to university, make sure you get as much hands-on experience in the lab. Practical skills are very useful whether you decide to embark on PhD studies or find a job in industry. If you're interested in computational side of virology, and if pipetting liquids in the lab is not your thing, then you should go through the route where you work on your computing skills like programming and scripting. But at some point you will need to learn about virus biology too, as you need to understand why you are doing something and how they work. Talking about computer skills, programming and scripting can be very useful for wet lab scientists, especially when you have big amounts of data to analyze. And in general, being able to understand why you are doing something and explain it to people is a useful skill to master.